Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another New World Guide. My name is Riofacer, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play the musket bow build, specifically centered around wars. This is a terrible build for duels, and to be honest, most of the time in World PvP it's bad. The only time this build excels is when there are large groups of people fighting. That is why I enjoy this build. I will go through the entire setup of it. I'll show you some clips from wars and how I play it. I'm not claiming to be the best at it, but I've been playing this game non-stop since it came out, and I've been playing this war build almost every single time, and I think it works really well. If you would like to play a very safe ranged kind of medium armor styled build, I'll go over the gear I'm using too. Nothing too insane. Pretty high gear score, but the perks could be better, and then I'll break it down from there. But without further ado, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're almost at 300 subscribers at the time of making this video, and with the new year, I've decided to make this channel exclusively New World content. So if you enjoy New World, I'm going to be putting out videos every week on anything New World. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested in my other content, I do some pretty fun things on Twitch. We stream almost every day. Link in the description. So come check us out. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's go over the bow section of the build. This is the bread and butter of the build because this is an AoE build. And a lot of these are actually like interchangeable. This is just how I play it. So please keep that in mind while we go over this. This is not like you have to play exactly this style. This is just kind of how I do it. And you can change it as you see fit, right? So let's get right into it. I take off here. I'm gonna respec right off the bat. I go elusive tactics. Okay. 20% more damage for 5 seconds after dodging. Basically, it's free extra 20% damage. That's awesome. All right. Then I go into catch them if you can. If you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies or 3 meters of you, you gain 20% haste. That's a really nice tool to have. Then we get into the actual abilities. Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows is just a must for wars. I think it's just amazing for AoEing the point, right? It's 150% weapon damage in a 3-meter radius. If you upgrade it even further, it adds bleed damage, and this bleed damage also stacks on top of Keenly Jagged, which is a perk I'll show you guys later. I also go for Hunter's Insight, hit him with a debuff. You're going to be debuffing a lot of enemies. Fully stack your Poison Shot. Poison Shot is actually so broken. This ability lasts like 20 seconds. This ability does so much damage. It lasts 20 seconds, and it does 10% weapon damage per second. I think I'm doing like 170, 80, almost up to 200 damage per tick when I hit somebody with Poison Shot, depending on who it is. And then it's further amplified with, you know, if you go more down the tree. So I actually love this shot. If you actually land the shot, the primary target takes so much damage, and it's very, very good. So Poison Shot is a must for war. Anti-healing as well. Gain 10% on, what is this? Gain 10% haste for 5 seconds when you swap to your bow. That's a guaranteed haste buff. It lets you get away from those slippery melees. Debuff and damage enemies over time. Lasts 20% longer. I mean, with the bleeds and the Poison Shot, I think you're starting to understand where this build is going. It's centered around heavily AoE, okay? Mark, deal 10% damage with foes suffer from debuff. And get the slow on Rain of Arrows. You can take Impale. Impale's not bad. You basically get a free slow. I don't like it because it doesn't add to my damage. You can also take Dodge and Weave if you need more haste. Personally, I don't find myself needing it that much. The swap is usually good enough for me, but this is still really good. Also, this one's really good. The only thing I don't like about closing in with my build is that I don't use this build for auto attacks. I don't really auto attack with the bow very much. That's why I use the musket. And we'll go into that in a second here. But let's go down the second tree. You go into Piercing Shot. You just take Piercing Shot the entire way through. If you're a bowman and you've ever used this, you know exactly why you need this ability. This thing crits so hard, especially when it hits multiple targets. And if you can get a headshot, oof, this is a nice ability. I love me some Piercing Shot. Deal 20% extra damage as long as you have not damaged them in the last 20 seconds. Awesome ability. Just more flat damage increase. I don't use this because, once again, I'm not using auto attacks with the bow, so I don't need the gravity distance, right? Increases critical shot chance of bows. I'm pretty sure that implies to your Piercing Shot. I actually am not sure if it applies to Rain of Arrows and Poison Shot, but regardless, I think this is still good. Now, if I'm wrong, someone please correct me in the comments. Then just don't take this, right? We have some options here, but I take this sometimes. Deal 20% damage for at least 10 yards away. You're always going to be at least 10 meters away from people, so definitely take that. And then deal 20% more damage to targets below 50% HP. You can also, you know, add a couple different ones in here. I don't use these. And then I look at them because they all have to deal with heavy attacks. I don't think you should ever be heavy attacking really with the bow in PvP. I'm nowhere am I even auto attacking. So a lot of these buffs are based around auto attacking, which is why I don't take these. I take basically any ability that gives me flat damage increase in any type of way that I, use, or if it's an AoE ability. So this is a full AoE bow build. You could use a Vade shot, right? Like I don't use a Vade shot, but this keeps you safer. I also don't use any of these trees because knee shot, why would you shoot for the legs? Okay, first of all, leg shots cause 10% slow. Why are you shooting for the leg? I think this is a trash ability, personally, and it's only a 10% slow for 2 seconds, so you have to constantly be shooting at the legs, which means you're never shooting at the head, so trash ability, don't take it. Then you have concussion. I don't take this. I think it's good if you're auto-attacking, right? If you use the bow for auto-attacks, you change this build completely. The way I play bow, I don't use it, so I don't think it's good for the way I play, but this is like 20% more damage on a headshot. And I guess the arrow beat coming back to you, saves you a little bit of cash, but who fucking cares, right? But this is how I play bow. You can switch these abilities around as you see fit, but this is kind of the generalized way that I like to play bow. Okay, now let's go into musket. I'm going to show you a couple different things here for musket, but generally it's going to be the same thing. And if my Void Gauntlet musket build is out, you'll see this change up actually a lot, but I'm not going to come out with that. If that's not out yet, it will be. Give me a little bit. But this is what you're going to do. This is the generalized version of it. So if you just want the picture of what to go, this is what I go with some minor adjustments sometimes. Okay. Be aware of that. But let's start from the top. Okay. So what do I do? First, we're going to take called shot. Mostly because we're going to be taking shooter stance, which means we're actually going to be aiming down our sights a lot, so it's just free musket damage. Free musket damage. If you think you can hit headshots a lot, go critical reload. Personally, I'm not Shroud, nor will I ever be Shroud, so I'm not doing this. I'm not hitting 3 headshots in a row. I mean, this is basically how you get 1 free miss because it's within 5 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. Not for me. You're gonna max out Powder Burn. Powder Burn is the goat of all abilities, especially if you have a perk called Crippling Powder Burn. This ability is just so toxic. Everybody hates musket users because of this ability, so you're gonna want to grab this. We don't need hip firing accuracy because if you're hip firing, you're bad. Removes damage from fall off musket shots. We want this because we're gonna be sniping. On successful headshots, gain Empower. We love Empower. That's a free 10% damage increase for 5 seconds on just a headshot. Okay, I mean, we're gonna land some headshots, right? In a row, maybe not, but we're gonna get some. Then you're gonna max out your shooter stance because shooter stance is phenomenal depending on where you're playing on the map. You gotta be aware of your surroundings, but shooter stance is phenomenal for getting off quick burst. Standard attack headshots reduce all musket ability cooldowns. This is optional. This one is optional. When aiming successfully, hits muskets grant stackable 2.5% damage increase. This effect ends when the player stops aiming down sights. After more than 5 seconds passes between shots, max 6 stacks. What does this mean? I know that was a lot of jumble. More damage, the more hits in a row that you get. So if the better you are, the more damage you're going to do. Musket is pretty, I'm going to be honest, musket is actually like, you can feel the difference between a bad musket player and a good musket player because a good musket player will not miss their shots and make almost every shot count. A bad musket player will miss shots, which is just free damage that they're losing out, right? So you can tell when you're getting hit by a good or bad musket player. Then I actually love Sniper. It increases 15% damage to all headshots, making headshots also easier to hit because the 3x zoom is actually so nice. And if you're part of the siege team on the walls, then this is exactly what you want. I like to take it. I don't play the walls. I play the ramparts for, like, let's say defensive wars. But this still allows me to zoom into their backline and start picking off their healers, right? So I love Sniper personally. Trapper is a whole nother tree that I think is more beneficial in smaller skirmishes, 1v1s, and outpost rush. For wars, I don't really like this tree too much, mostly because the traps are so easily destroyed by any AoE damage. When you have 100 people in a battlefield, everyone's throwing out AoE almost all the time, right? So it's a little bit harder to get away with traps, which is why I don't run traps. But let's go down the tree. Deal 10% increase to targets below 30 HP. Basically an execute. We love that execute. Then, hitting a target with active debuff grants empower, increasing your damage by 5%. We love empowerments. Empowerment is always good. Increases stamina damage, standard shots. Basically, if they have a shield, you do more damage, and you get increased penetration to people that don't have a shield, right? That's great. Then, this is the most important thing, I'm gonna be honest. You could take anything you want here. Like I said, I think I swap my abilities around just depending on what I want. The bread and butter of it all is just making sure that you have shooter stance, your sharpshooter tree is filled out. This is like basically optional, whatever you want in this tree. The only requirements that I think are required for muskets are tactical reload and the grenade. The grenade, oh my god. If you get a good sticky grenade on point when the melees are pushing a point, you can do so much damage with this thing. So the sticky grenade is a must. It's 235% of all weapon damage to targets within 3 meters. And this can also stick onto somebody. So if they don't know they have a bomb on them, they could run into their group of friends and just also fuck them over. It's awesome to watch. So sticky grenade is required, as well as tactical reload. Tactical reload gives you a free reload. Like once every 6 seconds when you dodge, and it's just a faster way of getting damage out. And over 30 minutes, you can do this once every 6 seconds over the course of 30 minutes. That's a lot of free shots that you can use. Okay, hold on. I gotta move here. This is the build I use for musket, and this is mostly centered around my auto attacks. Not so much the abilities, except for the grenade, and you just use powder shot whenever you can. So now I'm going to show you guys how to actually play, and I'm going to throw some footage of wars in between, in between myself talking, so you'll see what I'm talking about on screen. But basically, the way you're going to want to do it, imagine that that's the point of the war that you're dealing with, right? You always want to be within max range of rain of arrows, right? So you want to play defensively because you're not running any, you're more than likely not heavy armor. I run just all of medium void bent, but I'm working on a different set of gear. You can also run this in light. You're just much more susceptible to muskets and bows from afar. And if you get flanked, you're basically dead if you don't notice it, right? So I like medium. I'm also a streamer, so I get I get targeted a little bit, so that's okay. So you always want to be like max distance that you can be for a rain of arrows. At least towards the point. You want to basically start it off with a rain of arrows, poison shot, and piercing arrow, whatever the fuck you find. Those all go on cooldown. You immediately switch to your grenade the point, pop a powder shot, and then while your bow skills are on cooldown, let's say you're shooting some healers in the backline, you then switch back to your piercing shot, which then your cooldowns will all start coming back up on the bow. And in the meantime here, then I switch back, do an auto here, I see my poison shots coming back up, and I basically launch the poison shot almost immediately. And then we're back on grenade, boom. That's the play style, literally right there. The play style that you're aiming for is to get off as much damage as possible throughout the entirety of the war. We don't use mana. That is the benefit that we have. All we have is ammo, which if you are not a broke bitch, you don't have to worry about ammo, okay? So our job is basically to just put out as much DPS as possible on the giant clump of people that we can find while using our musket as a auto attack, an instant auto attack, because the bow, I find the bow auto attack a little bit, I'm gonna be honest, I find it difficult to use, nor do I like it, especially after they nerfed like the animation cancels. The way you have to play bow now is like animation cancel, jump, right? Like I don't want to play like this. I don't, right? So I just use my musket. I just instantaneously register the auto attack. So I play musket as basically a in-term auto attack substitute for my bow. But the most of the damage coming from this build is gonna be from your bow. What do I do for attributes? Attributes is as follows: 50 con, dump everything into dexterity. This is a fucking as much possible damage as you can put out. Like I said, if you run light armor, you're gonna get even more damage out of this. Personally, I just don't. Now let's talk about armor. I run full void vent. You could gen this up with whatever you want. I mostly use my void vent for PvE, which is why I have these pearls in them. But you could gem them any as you see fit. The way that this build also works is I highly suggest getting Warpwood or any bow with Keenly Jagged. Warpwood, I'm kind of wasting the Vorpal because I don't actually use it for auto attacks. But I got this bow so early on because I leveled up engineering anyway, that Enfeebling Poison Shot and Keenly Jagged are like, I think, some of the best perks that you could get for this kind of build. I think Vicious is obviously something that's still better. Keen as well, more crit chance. But until I actually craft a bow that has those, Warpwood for me right now is probably the best bow that I could be using until I get, the best in slot perks. But Keenly Jagged I think is amazing because Rain of Arrows, everything you do, Rain of Arrows applies a bleed to. So that's one reason I love Warpwood with the Keenly Jagged on it. In terms of my musket, I actually have 2 muskets. I run this musket for wars. It has Ruinous and Keen. Mostly because I'm part of anti-siege for my wars. This build, I would do more damage with this build but I also play a certain role in my wars that it's not always about numbers. It's about working as a unit, right? So I'm going to be focusing any siege weapons that pop up, regardless if I have my AoE abilities up. My number one priority with this build is I'm a musket player first, so I have to take out the siege, right? So siege is number one priority for me, but if you can get keen, vicious, if you don't want to take out siege, that's fine. You don't run this. On offensive wars, when we're done taking out the siege, I actually just swap it out for my other musket. This has enchanted on it with crippling powder burn. Now, if this had enchanted with keen or vicious, even better. You can get crippling powder burn on your armor instead, which is why I'm telling you, Void Bent is good, but there are better builds because you can swap a lot of perks out that Void Bent doesn't have, right? But it's up to you. You figure out what you want. These work for me. In terms of like what I said I run, Void Bent is all I'm running, so it's the same perk, luck, resilience, invigorated. This is never bad for PvP. Although if you're looking for glass cannon, you're going to want to go with a different type of build, something like light armor with, you know, actual like perks like, you know, crippling powder burn on your armor instead of your weapon, for example. In terms of your jewelry, I'm not rocking anything insane. This is just good gear score. Got my extra dex for it. Slash protection. Logging luck, I guess, is kind of nice, right? If I don't even log anymore. The ring, though, this is a ring I use for both my Void Gauntlet spec and my bow and musket spec. Keen aware. You want keen on your ring. You want keen on your ring. I love burning because it applies the crippling powder burn, although it's not required. That second perk could be a lot of different things. Keen awareness, though, you want to get as much crit as possible on any piece of gear that can have it. And I'm pretty sure ring is the only jewelry that can get crit, so you want to get crit on your ring. And then, you know, right here, this is actually a really bad earring. I just don't use anything else, and I'm gonna start, you know, rolling for something better. But this will get the job done, right? This isn't best in slot, but this is what I'm running, and this is what gets the job done. As long as you get over, like, you know, 400 dex, you're going to be putting out numbers, right? And that's all that matters at the end of the day. Is this build is centered around, like I said, AoEing the point on cooldown with your bow and using your musket as the auto attack filler with your grenade. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys on this build. I hope this video was useful to you. If you found this useful or even made it to this part of the video, I would totally appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment, just if you have any recommendations on what you run, or how this build has helped you, or if you have any improvements on it, please let me know in the comments. I'm always down to better my videos or even learn. If you want to come stop by our stream, we stream almost every day. Link in the description. Come stop by on Twitch, ask me questions, come hang out. Our server's actually got a really good dynamic on New World as well. We're on Alea US East if you want to come over there. I'm on the Syndicate, as you can see on the screen here. But it's been a pleasure, and best of luck to you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.